IPMNation.com.
Good morning and welcome to allnaturalbeing.com here on IPM Nation. You know, you hear all the time about dropping the F-bomb. That song was like carpet bombing. So again, right out of the box, Monday morning. Anyone listening in? Please accept my apologies once again. We're working on, there's some kinks. 37th episode this morning here on IPM Nation. So, a little rough water, some speed bumps, but we're getting over it. So save the emails, the text. I happen to tune in myself, listen a little early, but we're on top of it. So we'll get it there. Welcome, as I said, this is Brian. What did they say? There's no place like home? Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. It's great to be back. The Metropolitan Co-working Space here in beautiful downtown Aurora, Illinois. Home of 14 Blends. This is a really cool place. It's like an art gallery / think tank. I got to talk a little more about this at some point because it's really kind of cool place. I get here every morning. You know, the routine, get in, look at some of the artwork on the walls. And that puts me in the right position, I think, the perfect position to write this show. I wrote the show every morning. You know, we post an anaerobic aphorism day before on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. And then the next day I get in bright and early, and then I write the content for the show. And you're going, Brian, that can't be. The content is just impeccably authored. How could you just come up with that? Yeah, I know. Well, in any event, I get here bright and early and write the show, and I'm really excited about today's show. I am not coming to you live from the dashboard of my car, so I'm sorry. No traffic reports this morning. No, I'm back in Illinois. I had a big weekend, a lot of traveling. I want to thank everyone for putting up with me at Fox and Friends, talking about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, ticks. Hopefully not that near. Ticks, and some of which carry Lyme disease. So I was doing a little thing about how to protect yourself from Lyme disease. I've got some really dear friends that have just been mauled by Lyme disease is the only way to put it. So I want to thank my the people at Fox and Friends for letting me get on this weekend and talk in a short little time frame about what you can do to protect yourself, right? Because you think about these ticks, mosquitoes, they're predators, right? We go out there, and at a time where everyone's saying, oh, it's important to reconnect to nature. It's really good to spend time outside, and I wholeheartedly believe that. But you got to watch these days. Zika virus, West Nile virus, yellow fever, dengue fever, and now you got Lyme disease. Who knows what else? So I want to thank the people at Fox and Friends for having me on so that I could spread a little bit of knowledge about what you could do to protect yourself, your family, your pets. If you happen to see the show or you're on Facebook, as I said to the executive producer, if my dog Brash could bark in English, you wouldn't have me on the show. And he's better looking, too. So that's what I'm in. But it's nice to be back in the studio this morning in Aurora, Illinois. And I also want to thank you right out of the box for making us, as I said, this is our 37th episode, making us the #1 rated show on IPM Nation. You know how I feel about that? I think it's the #1 show because it's a show about you. Not the normal, everyday, dragging your butt in and out of bed just to struggle again. Not that you. Who wants that you? I'm talking about the real you, the all-natural you, the one that wants to jump out of bed, that goes kicking and screaming back to bed at night because today was too much fun. We're talking about that you. And that's why I think All Natural Being, 37 episodes, right, weekdays, but for going on 2 months now, or thereabouts, we've been the #1 rated show. And I think it's registering with the people listening, whether you listen live, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Time, Or you catch the rebroadcast at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, or you find us on iTunes, which over the weekend, thank you to Matt and Jen at IPM Nation, iTunes now has listed in the spirituality category. I'm cool with that. Medicine was probably night, and I didn't mind the comedy category there for a while, right? So thank you to the folks at iTunes that finally have us in the proper category. And whether you're listening to us on iTunes now as a podcast, I really want to thank you for all of the time that you've spent taking in my unique brand of craziness. And it's most certainly no different this morning. Anaerobic aphorism. The byproduct of your stumble and fall lays bare your true character. You know, everyone's wondering how they look. They want to know how they're perceived in the world. And we really don't know our true character, how people are going to see us until we stumble and fall. In that instant, right after we go, oh, this is what the ground feels like. Yeah, it looks like I fell for sure. We trip, we stumble, we fall, we smile, we push up, dust ourselves off, and we get right back into it. Which makes me think about the term the grind. Everyone said, oh, it's just a grind. They talk about grinding at work. They talk about grinding in life. And then it dawned on me driving back from New York that it's only a grind when we decide not to bring our grit. All natural. It's in us. You know you have it. Part of the myriad natural resources you were born with. A part of your all-natural being. The part that views the grind is just the opportunity to use your grit. So I guess grind isn't such a bad word if you remember who you ultimately are. Your all-natural being, your inner superhuman, is here to bring its grit to the grind. And all you do is smile. Right? Thank you, sir. May I have another? So think about examples in your life where you think you've tripped, or you know you've tripped, you've stumbled, you've fallen. It's in that second when you go, oh, that's what the grass in the front yard tastes like, right? That's what the cement sidewalk feels like on my chin. In that instant, when you stand back up, it lays bare your true character. It shows you who you are. Maybe it haven't. Maybe it hasn't always shown you. Maybe there's some times we trip, we stumble, we fall, but we don't smile. We look at all the reasons this could have happened to me, all the outside circumstances, all the things that conspired against us. We don't always bring our grit to the grind. I'm guilty of it as well. Not always. I have weak moments. Everyone has weak moments. But as you move forward this week, think about the word grind. It's there to call out and challenge your grit. And you're up for it. Maybe a while since you responded. Maybe a while since you tapped your grit. But that doesn't mean it isn't in you. That doesn't mean at any moment, what do we say all the time? Every chance is a second chance to release your inner superhuman. Forget all the critics around you, all the people that are certain they know how to script your life better than you do. We trip, we stumble, we fall, we smile, we jump back up again and go, come on, I got a bag full of grit. This is all the grind you brought, fate. Because fate's there to derail us. We'll do a quick Monday morning recap. Born with a destiny. And I want to talk about that a lot this morning. Because, you spend the weekend running around the country. You got some audio books from Audible. Oh, yeah, just some of the self-help industry tactics. So we'll go ahead and jump to that here in a little bit. But what I want to talk about, everyone says it's popular. You got to find your purpose. Got to find your purpose. What are you here to do? Well, I can tell you that I'm here to tell you I couldn't care less about your purpose. I couldn't care less nor should you, about what you're here to do. Tangential stuff, sideshows, compared to remembering who you are. It's not about your purpose, but it's about your pedigree. So with all these people offering you books, audio cassette programs, classes, this and that, finding your purpose, forget your purpose. Because when you remember who you are, when you focus on your pedigree, your purpose sits up and looks to find you. Well, you got to find your calling. Well, you got to find your purpose. Nuts. You don't have to do it at all. Remember who you are. That's the key. That's the linchpin. Because when you remember who you are, the great, 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 great grandchild of the divine, however you decipher and define it, evolution or Elohim, Big Bang, Big Breath, up to you. However you define your family tree, the beginning of your family tree, however you define your pedigree, you are a satellite office. You are a fractal. You are the prodigy of that very power. However you label it. Oh, I've got to find a purpose so my life will have meaning. No, you don't. You just don't. So please, everyone that doesn't like this concept, you're free to click away. Click away. Because at the core of your all-natural being is who you are. And again, once you have your pedigree clearly focused in your mind, once you remember who you are outside of the amnesia, outside of the blind spots, when you embrace your pedigree, the universe sits up, takes notice, and your purpose finds you. You don't have to worry about all the other things. Remember who you are. Ask yourself, you get up in the mirror, or any time during the day, maybe at night. It's a good way to do it too. Kind of like so you can wind down. Right? You don't want to take all this craziness into the dream state, because then your mind just runs like a crazed monkey. You're dreaming about that crap all night long. So whether you look in your mirror in the morning or you look in your mirror in the evening, either way, when you look in your own eyes, ask yourself, who am I? And wait for the response. Now your eyes will dart around. You'll look to see how your hair is, unless you're me and you don't look anymore. You focus on how your ears are situated, or the color of your teeth. They may not be chiclet white like everyone you see on TV. But you look at yourself in the mirror, and your mind is going to start going, oh, well, I could be this, I could be that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about looking in your own eyes and ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Don't waste the time in the reflection, oh, why am I here? The look that you give yourself, you deserve if you spend time in front of the mirror going, why am I here? Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, who am I? And if it doesn't come instantly, and the mind it looks down and says, oh, look at that shirt. I think I got a spot right here. That's not it. Oh, my earrings don't match. Oh, I don't. If you're like me, one of the first things that happened to me is I have a hair lip. So I'll look into the mirror. First thing I go, there's a scar. There's a hair lip. But then you stick with it. You look back in your own eye and ask yourself, who am I? I'll wait for the answer to bubble up. But I promise you, when you stick with this, either in the morning or in the evening, quick little hit in the mirror. Not to check your, do I look good enough to go out in public? Or do I look any of these other ways that everyone else thinks are so important? I'm talking about a very personal, very private, a very intimate look into your own eyes. I'm curious, do you even know the color of your own eyes? I mean, you read your driver's license, right? You from time to time take a quick check in the mirror, so you have a sense what color they are. But you know what color they are? If I took 5 pictures of 5 different sets of eyeballs, couldn't see the nose, couldn't see the hairline. Well, let's just this. If I took 5 pictures of an individual eye, could you pick yours out in a photo lineup? I'll go all New York cop on you. Guess it's with me after being back this weekend. Could you pick your own eyes out of a lineup? And if you can't, then this 20-second victory is absolutely a good deal for you. Look in your own eyes and ask yourself, who am I? Am I all the bling, all the baubles, all the baggage, all the toys, everything that we have to have in order to feel fulfilled? Ask your eyes, who am I? You hear a lot about confidence. You got to have confidence. Everyone's got to have confidence in order to get through the day. Well, how great could your confidence be? How great could your confidence be if you knew who you were? Then you don't have to worry about confidence. Reminded of that being, that all-natural being, that person sitting within you. Reminded of all of that. How cool would it be? Then all the other things that we have to allegedly, inauthentically go to pull together, wouldn't worry about it. We'd know who we are. And everything else will fall into place. Everything else will dovetail. And then we don't have the stress. Oh, what will happen here? What will happen there? How will I rise to this challenge? What's going to happen? So in a way, it's self-defense. You have your own protection detail. Because when you ask yourself, who am I? And you remember, you recall, you get the answer that you feel in your gut, in your spine, in your heart. That's the beginning of creating a self-protection detail. Well, it's like having your own bodyguard. Because my sense is, as we build in to later stages in our life, our soul starts to rebel. The soul's rebellion. It's tired of settling for second best. It senses, perhaps more so than we do consciously, that if we're alive, our time is running out. So the stress, the agitation, the unhappiness, all these different malaises that come up. What if it's a mutiny? What if it's your soul rebelling? What if it's your soul saying to you, look, you're not using it, give me my power back. You're just going to squander it? You're just going to run through life saying that your circumstances dictate who you are, not the other way around? You're just going to run through your life letting your mind run the show, forgetting, abdicating who you ultimately are? Your soul says, look, if you're not going to use your power, give it back to me. And if you refuse, that's the source of stress. That's the source of unhappiness. That's the source of agitation. It comes back to our amnesia. It comes back to our blind spots. Ask yourself next time, make eye contact with yourself in the mirror. Who am I? And then when you do that, you'll notice that there's a smile that bubbles up to your face. There will be that smile. You'll know when it hits. You'll feel it. And it all begins when you ask yourself, who am I? And no optimism. This isn't an opportunity to have a bright outlook. Isn't it an opportunity to have a dark outlook? You know, the battle between, oh, I'm an optimist, oh, I'm a pessimist, oh, I don't care. Nor should you. Outside of it, how about just, instead of optimism, instead of pessimism, how about just ism? Right here, in this moment. No thumbs up, no thumbs down. Just ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? And that's the beginning of taking your power back. We get to a certain stage in life where we had to surrender our power. Get to that point where we're responsible for our own balance, our own equilibrium. But then as we get to a certain stage, if we still keep our training wheels, our water wings, heard a term over the weekend, failure to launch. Well, what if that's the cause of our stress? Cause of our depression? It's our failure to launch. And at some stage, your soul goes, I've had just about enough. I want my power back. You're not going to use it. You're just going to sit like a bump on a log. My grandmother used to say that. What are you going to do? Just sit around like a bump on a log? Great question. Your soul wants its life back, wants its power back. If you're not going to use it, there comes a stage in our lives, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, whenever it is, where your soul rebels. It's a mutiny. And you feel it in terms of depression, anxiety, disappointment, in terms of blah. Because your soul's tired of getting a bad rap. It's tired for having to take second place. It's going to go kicking and screaming to the grave. That's what souls do. When you remember who you are, you're going to realize that your soul, in fact, does go kicking and screaming to the grave. And that our depression, our anxiety, our unhappiness, our unfulfillment, the whole lists of blah in our life come from our amnesia. Everyone wants to be enlightened. You're already enlightened. Your soul's enlightened. Your soul knows exactly what this gig is all about. And it sits back and looks at us and goes, there's nothing wrong with the grind. Just bring your grit. We'll be right back after this really quick message. Please stand by.
IPMNation.com.
All right, wow. It's a quick 6. So let me ask you, are you worth 1/72nd of your day? Whether you do it this morning, during a lunch break, whenever you can squeeze it in, you do it later this evening. I like the evening times because it's a wind down. You're going to go in and brush your teeth anyways. So instead of just watching the water run into the sink or, looking around on all the other accoutrements on the countertop, take a moment and look in your own eye. Ask, who am I? We talked in the anaerobic aphorism, the byproduct of your stumble and fall lays bare your true character. When you remember who you are, you really don't have a bad day. And when people say all the time, oh, well, there's a lot of negative that befalls us. Human beings are having a tough time. I look at some of the negative that our mind wants us to focus on. And a little question that I use, I'll extend it to you. I ask myself, as if that happened, and so what if it did? Worst case scenarios. Our worst case scenarios, as I believe we said last week, our worst days are just worthwhile because it shows us who we are. It reminds us of who we are. So when your mind offers up, oh, that's going to be bad, it's going to be brutal. Now I know this goes against all the self-help experts, all the gurus, all the wizards, all the intelligentsia that'll say, oh no, you want to be optimistic. You want to make positive pictures in your mind. You just make positive pictures of the future. Oh, there's the secret. Don't get burned. Oh, you got to have a positive outlook. No, you don't. Oh, you've got to make life-affirming pictures in your mind because that's what the universe recognizes. No, it doesn't. And no, you don't have to. Everyone wants this sense. Oh, see it in your mind's eye so that that's what your future will be like. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So for this 20-minute victory, no optimism, no pessimism, just ism. Who am I? And from that answer bubbles up, what am I capable of? Why am I here? Right? Those are all tangential answers. But the foundational question, who am I? That's what launches the answers to all the other questions in life. Who am I? Am I someone that worries about what the future's going to hold if I listen to my heart? Am I someone that worries, well, if, I'd like to follow my spine. I'd like to follow my heart. But then my head kicks in. And instead of dovetailing with my heart, it hijacks the agenda. The egoic mind says, oh no, that's going to be horrible. Oh, can you imagine? Well, let's do that for a second. Let's imagine. Think of a particular situation you have going on in your life right now. And then imagine that that happened. Something bad, something you perceive as bad were to happen. So again, my little trick, as if it did, and then ask yourself, so what? As if it did. This weekend I'll share with you a little story. We're in the car, we're driving back, and we pull over to get some gas, and on a throughway, right, on a major highway, there's no power at the rest area island. Cut off. No power to the gas pumps. So, I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit going, well, should have topped off the tank before I left, but, we're in the car and we're ready to start the adventure, and we know there's going to be construction ahead, but at least it's not raining like it was the day before, so it should be a little easier. Then we hop in the car, we go, got like 3/4 of a tank of gas, knowing full well, because we've made this trip before, that we'll just hit this particular rest area, piece of cake, don't sweat it. Pull in, no power to the gas pumps. So all right, let's just hit the next one down the road. Well, you pay attention to the signs as you get closer. Oh, this one's closed. The very next gas stations that at least, if everything's going right, the very next gas stations that will be open are like 30, let's call it 34 miles down the road. So then a little gas light comes on. I don't know if your vehicle must have them if you see them all that often, but a little light comes on. And I've calculated through all the road trips that we've gone on, I've calculated once that light comes on, how much further I can go before the car is just like, nah, feed me or you're done. As I call it to my boys, I call it go-go juice. Car wants its go-go juice. So I do a quick little thing of math, and it comes up with, I'll have like 1 mile left. If we make it to that next oasis, the rest area, the gas island, if the power's on, I'll have 1 mile left. But the cool thing is about a mile down the road from there's an exit. Then I know there's gas. So a little exercise that we kind of did was, all right, if because we're driving the speed that we're driving, and I calculated the amount of mileage that we have when that light comes on, if we're a mile off, or we get to the gas pumps and there's no gas, I only got a mile to walk to get gas. It's not like I'm going to be stuck 50 miles back and then have all this walking, all these things I have to do. So in my mind, imagine the worst case scenario. Instead of worrying, will I make it, will I make it, will I make it? I was like, hey, if I don't, nearest gas station's within a mile. So that's pretty cool. It's not like I was back in the mountains where I'd have, I think this happened in Indiana, a little flat, in case you all have never been to Indiana. A little bit of flat, a lot of flat going on. in Indiana, not like the mountains of Pennsylvania, even some of the mountains in Ohio, New York, golly, just flat. So I knew if I had a mile to walk, it'd be a flat mile. So I pictured running out of gas, and I said, so what would that mean? It would mean that I'd have to walk the mile. So no stress. It wasn't brutal. I'd be a half hour late getting back. Whoop-de-doo. Turns out, didn't have to worry. Got there, the lights were turned on, or the power was on to the gas island. And I kind of just looked at myself and chuckled, thinking, oh, all right, great. Now I don't have that mile walk with the gas can and then the mile hike back. But when you imagine in your mind, oh, Bri, you can't do that. You have to have optimistic thoughts. Just paint a rosy picture. No. What if I ran out of gas? I was perfectly happy painting a crappy picture. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, oh, well, I could have covered it either way. So let me ask you, what scenarios do you have in your life that your mind is convinced you're just going to be brutal? Absolutely brutal. Oh, if you do that, it'll be near death-defying. And then ask yourself, as if it happened. And then, so what would that mean? Ultimately, truthfully, no hysteria, no crazed headlines. What would it truly mean if X happened as a result of you following your heart? Now, as I say every week, 20-minute victory. 1/72nd of your day. Be your own petri dish. Let's try to grow a little something here. Be your own crash test dummy. What's the worst case scenario? Imagine that for a moment, and then say, I could cover that. Would it be ideal? No. Did I want to walk? It was 80-some. Thank goodness, finally a warm day. Did I want to walk a mile, get a can of gas, and then walk a mile back, schlepping, and what is a gallon? 8 pounds. Want to schlep another 8 pounds back to the car? No. But would it kill me? No. So then those final miles up to the oasis, no stress, because I knew I could cover the downside. But where everyone's telling you, oh, picture the most positive thing, and you'll force the universe to make that happen for you. What is that saying? The quickest way to make God laugh is to tell her your plans. The same thing. You don't force the universe to do anything. You can't. But what you and I can do in the moment, when we build up our ego shield, when we engage, we don't shun it, we study it. Here's the scenario. Here's what we're in. Picture it in our minds. And go, okay, it's not ideal. There's some downsides. I'd rather not have A, B, C, or D happen to me. But if it did, is it going to kill me? Is it going to be as brutal as my mind, who doesn't want me taking the risk? My mind busy beating up on me because I didn't listen to it earlier. Is it as bad as that portion of your brain says it's going to be? As if, so what? When you do that, you let your mind know who's driving the bus. You let your mind know who's in charge. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
All right, I love this portion of the show. How much longer are you going to let them hijack your head and your heart, or your heart and your head? It's up to you. Tomato, tomato. How much longer? How much longer are we going to let our mind hijack our own hearts? How much longer do you think your soul is going to wait before it starts to rebel? Before it wants its power back? How much longer until that portion of you says, I've had just about enough of the fear, of the apathy, I've most certainly had enough of the amnesia, the blind spots. Then it says, let's go. No more mucking around. Let's do it. Because your soul wasn't sent here to settle for second best in your life. And it will, in fact, go kicking and screaming to the grave. If you don't use it, you'll lose it, is the popular tagline. Why would you want to lose your soul? Why do that to yourself? Why would we? Why would we turn our back any longer on our hearts? Ask yourself, look in the mirror, forget all the mashugana.
Oh, find your purpose. Find your true calling in life. Without a calling, how will you get through the day?
Forget your purpose. What's your pedigree? Who are you? Look in the mirror. Who am I? I absolutely promise you. Oh, and do me a favor. After you do this drill, either this morning, do it now. We're on a portable phone. You can take us into the bathroom with you. You can take it. Don't do it if you're driving your car, right? I don't want you to look at you look in the rear view mirror. It's just you have to. They warn me all the time now. All the different things I'm supposed to say.
Please, if you're operating heavy machinery, please don't stare for 20 seconds into your own eyes in your rear view mirror. All right, so now we're covered. That I'm not a psychiatrist or a shrink or a psychologist or a licensed clinical anything. I'm just here for your soul. I'm like the liaison. I'm like the go-between. I'm like the middleman. Your soul called. It wants its life back. It asked me to reach out, let you know. Got a little message. Asked me to hand you a Post-it note. Go and look. I'm tired of being treated second rate. Because your soul is here to steal the show, to wow the crowd and the world. And you know I'm telling you the truth. You can feel it. We want to look at all of our situations that keep us in check, but what if it's our own attitude that keeps us in check? Easy to point the finger outside to other people. What if it's our own attitude? What if I was wrong earlier? What if it isn't about taking your power back? What if it's about letting your power out? Maybe that was a better way of putting it. Again, another perfect disclaimer. Time for the disclaimer. Can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. All I'm simply suggesting is that you try this. I'm here to tell you that you're worth 1/72nd of your day. You can give yourself 20 minutes, for goodness sake, and do this drill. 20 minutes. Is 1/72nd of your day worth it if the trade-off is getting your smile back? Is reconnecting with that part of you that's here to be thrilled with your life, not terrified by it? 1/72nd of your day. Ask yourself, look in the mirror, who am I? And as always, please drop me a line, allnaturalbeing.com, a.k.a. BrianBrawdy.com, but it's easier to spell, allnaturalbeing.com. Leave me your email address. I'll fire back an email to you. I'd love to hear your answers. I'd love to hear what bubbles up from your heart, because that's why I do this 5 days a week. Simply to act as the liaison. Your soul wants a new lease on life. And I'm here to simply remind you of who you are. Nothing to teach. Not here to motivate you. Heaven help us all. Inspire you. Because when you know who you are, which reminds me, I got something else to run past you here. I got to watch the time. I just get so carried away. I'm simply here to remind you of who you are. Because when you remember the who, you don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. Your motivation and inspiration came hardwired, pre-packaged. Not like toys that you get at your birthday or Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. Some assembly required. Maybe that part's kind of true. Got to assemble a little bit of it. But batteries required. You didn't come here with batteries required.
You're already enlightened. You already have all that energy, all the motivation, all the inspiration. And the moment you remember who you are, the hell with your purpose. What you need to know is your pedigree. That's what we want to recall. Because the moment you have that, everything dovetails. The moment you remember who you are, the universe is going to stand up and show you how to be thrilled with who you are. It's going to present those things in the labyrinth. Lefts, rights, ups, downs, pivots, swerves. Another little thing quickly over the weekend. I was supposed to pick up a tablecloth to take to the set. So when I set out some of the gear, some of the insect shields, some of the other stuff that I use in my battle against outdoor insects when I'm out hanging out in the wilderness, I was supposed to take a tablecloth. So it's like, golly, even earlier, it's like 2:30 Eastern time, and I'm leaving the place that I'm staying, and I know that I've got about an hour, normally no traffic, about an hour to get to Avenue of the Americas, get downtown, go through the tunnel, get over to the studio. And I remember my publicist saying, "Oh, Brian, you got to bring a tablecloth." And I'm thinking, ay, ay, ay. Right? I just want to leave, get on the thruway, get down, and get in. So I'm thinking, all right. It was late last night. It was foggy. It was raining. I saw a fox. So, of course, I had to pull over and watch the fox for a little bit. So I'm running late. Didn't hit a store. Pick up a tablecloth. So my mind goes, oh, this is going to look good. Good thing I wore long pants, and they're clean. Not going to have a table skirt to cover. The camera will be showing. I'm like, everyone's standing around. So just as I go to get on the thruway, I look up. Huge billboard right there with an arrow. 2 miles down. Here's the store I need. Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I could go right there and buy my tablecloth. When you remember who you are, I guarantee, you have my word, I promise, signs are going to pop up 2 miles. As far as I was concerned, the sign said, tablecloths, 2 miles. Right? But that's what will happen when you remember who you are. When you ask yourself, who am I? Am I this little skin bag full of fears and phobias and nerves and agitation and concern and blah, blah, blah? Or am I that part of me that has a natural confidence, that has gratitude, the grease of the human mind, good or bad? No matter what befalls me, I'll cover it. No matter what happens to me in the labyrinth, lefts, rights, ups, downs, pivots, swerves, shift happens. No matter what I'm confronted by, no matter what the ego part of my mind convinces me is just going to be absolutely horrid. Outside of all that craziness, other side of your blind spots, other side of our amnesia, there's that part of you that is absolutely confident. Good or bad, don't care. I can handle it. That's what you were born with. You weren't born going, oh, I'm going to have optimistic thoughts, so everything will be good in the future. No. It's not your all-natural being. Your all-natural being is good, bad, whatever. I'll take another helping. And again, the mind will kick in. Oh, you don't want any of that. That's just crazy talk, Brian. Oh, well, that's the pot calling the kettle black. I'm the one with the crazy talk. All I'm simply suggesting is that you remember who you are. All kinds of signs will pop up on your road. Cognitive cairns will begin to align. You're out in the wilderness hiking around, you see those stacks of rocks kind of showing you the path. Cognitive cairns, they'll present themselves everywhere when you remember. And you can answer wholeheartedly this simple question. Who am I? And then the tangential follow-up question, you're following your heart, your head offers up, oh, this'll happen or that'll happen. Here's the downside. Go, great. Let me fully embrace the downside. Let me just sit, 20 seconds even. Going to engage it. Don't have to embrace it just yet. I'll engage it, though. I'm not going to shun it. Let me study it. Then after we engage it, we go, so what? If that very thing happened, that thing that my mind won't let me look at, because it likes us being afraid of the monsters under the bed. It likes us being afraid of the monsters in the closet, the boogeyman. Our mind loves when we're scared by those things. But just like when we were little, I remember one time, screaming as a little kid, my mom came in, turned on the light in the closet. Look, there's nothing here. Move this coat, pick up this blanket, move this around. Look, come on over here, Brian. Look in the closet. No monsters. Nothing's going to get you. I remember as little kids, we had this long hallway, and I don't want to say which sibling. So let me just say I did it. I was mad. But because of this belief conjured up that there were monsters under the bed, and if you didn't stay in bed at night, you try to get out for whatever, maybe go get cookies or I don't know, whatever you weren't allowed to get out of bed for at night, that the monsters would grab you. And I remember it was a long sprint down the hallway. You'd hear the feet running, and all of a sudden there wouldn't be any sound, and you'd hear as if I had jumped from the threshold of my room, landed on my bed, and then you hear, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Clearly I was brought up in a Christian family. And then even when that didn't work, under my covers, scared to death of the closet, my mom would come in, turn on the light. Your egoic mind doesn't want you coming in and turning on the light. Doesn't want it. Wants you under the covers, cowering, in fear, praying for an optimistic outcome. And it keeps throwing the fear at you because it wants to scare you into compliance. And it's absolutely petrified that you're going to find out the truth. So ask yourself, as if that were going to happen, and then so what? I'm in a relationship. It's going to break up. So what? If you're in one now, chances are pretty good you'll be able to find another one. Oh, if I had a flat tire while I was driving this week, well, I got a spare. Is it ideal? Do I want to have to change a flat tire alongside of the road? No. Am I actively recruiting it? No. But if it happens, will I get through it? Of course. Your confidence is already in you. Your higher consciousness, elevated consciousness is another one, already in you. Your enlightenment, already in you. Your motivation and inspiration, already in you. And the key, since we seem so crazed about this concept of a secret, will you want a secret? All those things are in you. That's the bag of goodies. That's all the things hardwired in you. When you honestly answer the question, who am I? There's your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And the myriad of natural resources, your authentic vigor, your buried logic, all those things, they're already there. So what are we doing running around searching for anything? Everything you've ever needed, you've always had. And it begins with asking yourself the question, who am I? Nor all the experts, people jumping around on stage, some go-go dancers clapping their hands. Oh, come on in. Grab a seat, jump around, gotta find your purpose. No. Because for this to work, you don't need a stage, don't need a crowd, don't need the lighting, the dancing light systems, the pounding audio. None of that matters at all when compared to you spending 20 seconds to start. Let's make it a 20-second victory. when you stand and look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? That's why the universe dovetails. All right, we're in our closing 10. We'll be right back.
No self-help industry tactics here. You're listening to The Real Deal, Brian Brawdy, with All Natural Being on IPM Nation.
All right, so we hear it's popular now to talk about, we need a mantra. We need a mantra, something that we can get. And it's cool, in the very beginning to start to be able to do this. So I thought what we could do is talk briefly about that mantra. The one that I use. You're welcome to it if you like. You're welcome to borrow it, steal it, whatever. Whatever. 2 words. Only prayer I ever say. Don't petition the universe. Don't treat God like an ATM machine. Short order cook. Punching in some PIN number. Begging it to give me something. My mantra, my prayer, which I say hundreds of times a day. You ready? You got a pen or recording this? 2 words. Thank you. And for my friends that are a little less in terms of a spiritual bent, they're a little more secular, a little more big bangish than big breathish, doesn't matter. Still have that sense of gratitude of having a shot in the labyrinth. So it's kind of like thank you without a target. If you don't want to believe in a spiritual target, you can believe in a scientific target. But just have that sense of gratitude. Say thank you. That's the mantra. Again, no optimism, no pessimism, no, I'm hoping for the best outcome. I'm sure praying nothing bad happens. I'm just saying thank you for whatever comes, for the ism of the moment. I'm not optimistic. I'm not pessimistic. I just am. And I'm thankful for that. So thank you. Again, whoever the you is, if you have any you at all, just cultivate that sense of still being here. Because even in our worst case scenarios, as if, so what? So what if it happens? I'm still here for it to have happened to. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we just can't have gratitude for the good. What kind of gratitude is that? It's not gratitude. Where you can take it, whatever fate deals, and go, no, I'm up for the challenge. This is good. I brought my grit. The grind isn't going to wear me down. So the byproduct of our stumble and our fall, it lays bare our true character because we're above the stumble and the fall. The soul doesn't worry about us tripping. The soul knows who it is. It wants its energy back. It wants its life back. It wants its relationship back with you. That's what it came for. And it's tired. It's fed up with being treated like a second-class citizen. And that's the stress. That's the angst. That's the agitation. That's the ultimate demise of amnesia. We will come to our final moments. At some stage down the road, we will come to our final moments, and we're going to be held accountable. Did we use our soul the way nature intended? Or do we let our mind, our egoic mind, we didn't build an ego shield. We didn't do 20-minute victories. We didn't do 20-second victories. We didn't have all natural thinking. We didn't have the ability to question ourselves in the moment to see who was driving the bus. We didn't have all that. And there will come an hour, a moment, when we have to look back and go, I brought my soul and I never took it out of the bag. I had my very best and I never used it. How much stress do you think that's going to cause? And if I'm right, only you'll know in your heart, but if I'm right, that you brokered a deal to get here, and that deal was to manifest your destiny. That deal was to fight fate at every turn, to go home, to go back to that universal energy as a winner, not a whiner, but a winner. So you brokered the deal. You said, yep, drop me off on Earth, drop me off on this planet, and I'll crush it for us. So what happens if you haven't sealed that deal and you're confronted in the moment with the realization that you have to go home having broken it? Imagine the stress that would cause. Now, even as you know, the power of metaphor, even if you don't believe that you actually brokered a deal, even if we don't believe in all that nomenclature of that thought process, you were still sent with a soul whose sole goal is to be thrilled, is to have joy, not caught up in the winds of good or bad, optimism or pessimism, but a soul absolutely joyful for having been dropped here in the first place. And knowing that not everything is always going to be smooth sailing. A soul that has perfected the art of going, as if, so what? That's who you are. And if it doesn't come to you when you first ask the mirror, go back again. 20-second victory, 20-minute victory. There's a cumulative effect. We talk all the time. If you could do the perfect pull-up, you couldn't do 100 of them tomorrow morning. But if you practice, pretty soon you could do 2, maybe 3, 5, 10. It's the same with looking in the mirror, looking yourself in the eyes and asking, who am I? Forget all the other craziness. Don't get your tickets before midnight tonight. Oh, get on now. This opportunity is closing. Don't fall for any of it. You want to buy a ticket? Purchase 20 seconds in front of the mirror, asking yourself, who am I? And regardless of what your ego does, to automatically fill in the answer. Oh, this is a crossword puzzle. Know this. Let me just throw this in. No matter what it does to try to connect the dots, ignore it. This answer has to come from your heart. Who am I? And then everything else will bubble up. Your soul wants its power back. It's not going to sit idly by while we squander that power. You wouldn't. Your soul's not going to. So before we run, do this drill today. Why not treat yourself 20 seconds in front of the mirror? Ask, who am I? And in my honest opinion, I think you're going to be thrilled with the answer. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning. I've got some other cool things that I want to share with you. Oh, I also want to thank Tammy, our winner of last week's 20-minute victory. We're going to be hooking up with Tammy sometime this week, and then we'll be announcing this week's winner 4 days from now. We'll be announcing it on Friday, so go ahead, continue to share some of the posts. Thank you for everyone who does. Reach out to me on Twitter. Head on over to allnaturalbeing.com. Leave me your email. I'll email you back, and we'll connect that way. And then someone from the group of people that, they're reaching out, people that want to connect, right? You're not going to give someone a 20-minute victory if they don't want one. So the people that are reaching out and go, yeah, that'd be cool, then we'll pick one again on Friday. Until tomorrow morning, just remember who you are. You're a great, 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 great grandchild of the divine. However you decipher and define it, is today the day you bring your own bold.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.